Oof, today is a big day. Look at that front brake. Damn, that looks huge. That looks so sick. What is up? Welcome to the video. So if you guys watched my last video, if you didn't, click right here. I mentioned that I was going to be doing the 5-lug swap on this car. Well, it is now almost complete. These are the Cadillac ATS-V Brembo brakes that I was going to use up front. If you want to use these, all you got to do is machine down 75 thousandths off of the mounting tabs, and you need to enlarge the holes. I believe it's to 14 millimeter and slot one of them so that you can get clearance for the bolt holes to go in. And then after that, that's all you got to do to the front. And in the rear, we have a little bit different of a setup. I have SN95 axles with Taurus calipers. To make these work on your 8.8, you do need the Cobra caliper brackets. The Taurus calipers, if you guys didn't know, are actually bigger than the Cobra ones. I have all brand new lines. I have a new diff cover. The rear end now has 410 gears with a Detroit True Track. The last step now before I drive the car is to go ahead and bleed the brakes. I already did it once. I did a solo bleed, but today my mom's going to be helping me out because I couldn't quite get it all out myself. It's very difficult to see whether or not there's air coming out of it when you're inside the car doing it by yourself. You can kind of judge it by looking at the line and see if there's any air bubbles in the line. However, if there's air bubbles trapped, and when you do something like this where you're changing the entire lines of the car and a prop valve and gutting out the prop valve and doing a lot of brake work, odds are there's a lot of air in there behind the fluid that's very difficult to see by yourself. You could totally get away with a solo bleed if you're just, doing brake pads, or if you just want to bleed the brakes for no reason. But for something like this, I do recommend that you guys get a second person. I'll also go ahead and show you guys the new wheels that we got for the car. And hopefully by the end of the day, we'll be driving it. I'm not going to drive it a lot. I still do need to get it aligned. And I need to address that power steering leak that I showed you guys in the last video. Mom, she's going to be helping me out today. Say what's up, Mom.
What's up, what's up?
Mom, ¿tú nunca me has ayudado con un carro?
Todo el tiempo.
That's not true.
Todo el tiempo.
No es cierto.
Y ven así, y ven así.
Yeah, tú pusiste el motor, ¿no? Tú lo pusiste sola,
Y
¿no?
las llantas también.
Tú construiste el carro tú sola, ¿no?
Yes.
Yo nomás, qué gacho soy yo, ¿verdad? Yo nomás agarro todo el crédito. No te doy crédito a ti nada.
No, yo todo lo hice. Y apúrate.
That's not
Porque
true.
no tengo tiempo.
This is my setup here. It's pretty simple. It's literally just a Gatorade bottle that I drilled a airtight hole for the line. This is 5/16 line, and I drilled a relief kind of breather hole, and I connected it to the bleeder valve here, and I put a zip tie on it because I want this to be as airtight as possible. I don't want any air leaking from here while she's pumping the brakes. But I'm gonna go ahead and break this loose, ask her to pump the brakes, and then have her hold it to the ground. As she's holding it on the ground, I'm gonna let all the air out of it and then tighten it back up, and then she can go ahead and lift her foot off of it. So first things first, gotta break this loose. Okay.
Una, dos, tres.
Sosténlo. Okay, suéltalo. Okay, ¿ya lo soltaste?
Yeah.
Okay, 3 más.
Una, dos, tres.
Okay, sosténlo. So, thanks to my mom, we finally got the brakes bled on this car, and I'm getting ready to show you guys what it looks like now with the new wheels on it and the new brake setup. I did also mention that we were going to be attempting to go and drive the car. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. And once I show you guys what's on the car, you guys will understand why. I will also go into a little bit more detail if you guys are trying to replicate what I'm doing, some things to avoid if you guys want the same setup. But I am stoked. I'm so happy with the way the car looks and the way the car turned out. Unfortunately, the wheels that I chose will not work with my application, so I am going to need to find some new wheels, unfortunately. I will still show you guys what they look like, what the car looks like currently. This car has the biggest brake option that you can get on this car, with the exception of going with something like a Willwood or a Bayer brake setup. But I'm gonna go ahead and turn around the camera and show you guys what the car looks like. This is it, guys, and I am honestly so happy and so stoked. These wheels look really good on the car. It's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to run these things on the car because the brake caliper bolt, the banjo bolt that actually holds on the line to the caliper, rubs on the inside of the wheel, and it rubs really bad. I tried to cut a section out of that bolt, grind it down as small as I could while still being able to use it. However, it still was not enough to clear the wheel. The wheel is just too small for the big brakes that are in the rear. The front also just barely clears. The front works totally fine though. The front, I honestly was way more concerned with the front than I was with the rear, and it's ironic that that ended up working really well. But let me know what you guys think. The rear brake setup that I have is the Taurus calipers, so they are the bigger 43mm calipers. They're actually bigger than Cobra calipers that people like to run, along with the Cobra rotor. I had to use the Cobra brackets on the inside, and what they do is they bring the caliper out about an inch so that they can clear the bigger diameter rotor. The Cobra rotor is an 11.6 inch diameter rotor, while the stock GT rotor is a 10.5 inch. So if you had a stock GT setup as far as braking goes in the rear, you can totally run these wheels no problem. They will clear 100%. You'll have about an inch of clearance, and that is plenty. Also, these wheels don't rub, so that's kind of the awesome part. They clear the fenders really well. You can actually even space them out a little bit if you really wanted perfect fitment. You can roll the inside of the fender, inside of the quarter panel, sorry, and space it out. As far as the engine bay goes, I still have not addressed that power steering leak that you guys saw in the last video, and it's getting worse. When I drove the car and I turned the steering wheel, you can hear the kind of whining coming from the pump. But that's something that's easy to handle. I can totally mess with that later. There are some changes to the engine bay though. I did go ahead and redo the fuel lines. So I am running Dash 6 Vibrant Performance fuel lines, all AN fittings, all the way back out to the tank. Previously how I had these was I ran them honestly really sketchy. I ran them along the firewall, and then they went down and inside the frame rail, so they were between the header and the frame rail. It was super sketchy. I did wrap them in like this fire protectant like heat sleeve, and it did do the job. And I also went ahead and attached them with clamps similar to what I have here. I attached them with clamps to the inside of the frame rail so that they wouldn't move and touch the exhaust. However, I did think that that was super sketchy just to have them that close to the exhaust. So now I'm running them from, obviously from the fuel rails, from the return on the fuel regulator. They go inside the stock fender location, so they go in here, and then they basically go from the inside of the fender, and then they go down under the K-member, and then, you know, outside. They're attached to the frame rails on the inside right behind this pinch weld, and then they go all the way back to the tank of the car. I also installed a Ford Racing prop valve. I need to mess with that a little bit so I can adjust it. Obviously for that I need to drive the car. If I really wanted to, I could totally just drive the car and maybe just let some material grind away until it cleared, because it's only a little bit. It's maybe a 1/16 of an inch that it rubs. It's honestly nothing. However, I just don't feel comfortable doing that, because another thing that can happen is that while it's rubbing on the wheel, that little bolt that holds on the line for the brake caliper could totally just come loose. And I will lose brake pressure. And I don't know if you guys saw this video from Audiotopia LA. I don't know if you guys follow that channel. If you guys don't, I do recommend it. I'll throw up a link. But there was a video of this guy that had a 1400 or 1200 horsepower Mercury Comet, and while going like 50 miles an hour halfway through a pool, they lost the brakes and hit some people. I honestly am terrified of brake failure, so I don't want to mess with the car in any kind of way that can cause that. So I don't mind waiting until I can get some wheels that I can work with. But to do a 5-lug, it's super easy, especially because you can just rip everything off of an SN95 car and just use it on one of these. But if you want to use this specific setup, you're going to need to do a little bit mix and matching of parts. But that is going to be the end of today's video. If you guys did enjoy, don't forget to smash that like button. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys, each and every one of you that watches these videos. But regardless, I will not take up any more of your time, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.